Picture this. The year is 54 BCE, and you find yourself walking quietly through the bustling streets of Rome. The city is alive with the clatter of carts on cobblestones, the chatter of merchants in the forum, and the distant murmur of senators debating laws in marble chambers. The air is thick with the scents of baked bread, burning tallow, and the faint aroma of perfumed oils worn by women of influence. Imagine the soft rustle of your tunic brushing against your skin as you follow a narrow alley toward a lavish domos, where the powerful and the ambitious intersect in ways the public will never know. Before we continue, tell me, where are you listening from tonight? Is it quiet and late, or the gentle calm of your bedroom? If you enjoy unraveling the hidden worlds of history, subscribe to Whispers of History, where every palace, every villa, and every secret comes alive for you. Now, imagine stepping into the private villa of a prominent Roman senator. The interior is rich with frescoes depicting mythological scenes, the floors adorned with intricate mosaics of gods, goddesses, and animals frozen in eternal motion. The rooms are scented with incense and perfumed oils, and the faint sound of water trickling in the atrium fountain fills the air. Here, behind closed doors, is a world that few outsiders ever see: the private life of a Roman mistress. Your heart races, not with fear alone, but with the awareness that you are about to witness a life filled with desire, danger, and delicate intrigue. Being a mistress in ancient Rome was far more complex than the popular tales of romantic indulgence suggest. Your mistress wields influence, yet her position is precarious. She must navigate social expectations, family honor, and the whims of men who hold power not only in their homes, but in the Senate, in the armies, and in the courts of law. Imagine standing silently in her presence, aware of the layers of decorum that surround her every gesture, yet also witnessing the subtle ways in which she exerts her authority in her private world. The historical record shows that Roman mistresses were not merely objects of desire. They were often political actors, confidants, and negotiators. Take, for instance, the women associated with Julius Caesar or Mark Antony. Their influence extended beyond mere intimacy. They shaped alliances, advised on matters of power, and sometimes even altered the course of Rome's political landscape. You, as one of these secret companions, are swept into a web of influence and danger. Every word spoken, every gesture observed, every glance exchanged could ripple outward, affecting decisions that reach far beyond the walls of the villa. Imagine the soft rustle of silk tunics, the faint clinking of gold jewelry, and the warm scent of olive oil as she moves through her private chambers. She speaks in low tones, confiding secrets, fears, and desires that are never to be shared with the bustling streets outside. History records her name, perhaps in the memoirs of senators or in whispers among contemporaries. But the intimate details of her life, the relationships, the risks, the quiet triumphs are preserved only in fleeting fragments. For you, as the observer and participant, these moments are vivid, alive, and deeply human. Picture yourself in the atrium as evening falls, the warm glow of oil lamps casting dancing shadows across frescoed walls. You watch as she negotiates with a messenger, her voice soft but firm, her eyes commanding attention. You notice the subtle signs of caution in her movements, the careful placement of her hands, the quick glance toward hidden exits, the almost imperceptible tension in her shoulders. These gestures speak volumes about the precarious nature of her life. To be a mistress in ancient Rome was to exist in a delicate balance between intimacy and danger, affection and betrayal, influence and invisibility. Consider also the political implications of these private relationships. A mistress could sway her lover's decisions, gain favor for her family, or alter the dynamics of alliances in ways the historians only speculate upon. Imagine her reading letters from distant provinces, her expression revealing nothing of the power they might hold. And yet you feel the weight of her influence, pressing gently but persistently through every room. In these moments, history is not merely recorded in stone or parchment. It lives in subtle gestures, whispered confidences, and the careful navigation of desire and authority. And now, as you settle into a quiet corner of the villa, imagine the calm intimacy of these private hours, the soft murmur of voices, the gentle flicker of lamps, the faint scent of perfumed oils blending with the warm air. Being a mistress in ancient Rome is not simply about pleasure. It is a life of calculated discretion, hidden power, and quiet drama. You are part of history, yet unseen by the world beyond these walls. Every heartbeat, every breath, every glance carries significance, threading your presence into the hidden tapestry of Roman life. In the coming nights, you will follow her through grand banquets, secret rendezvous, and moments of political intrigue that could change the fate of families and empires alike. You will witness the quiet struggles, the stolen intimacies, and the subtle power plays that define what it truly meant to be a mistress in ancient Rome. And as you drift towards sleep, imagine the soft rustle of her gown, the distant murmur of the city beyond, and the steady heartbeat of a world that lived in shadows, whispers, and delicate secrets. As dawn breaks over the terracotta roofs of Rome, imagine the soft golden light spilling into the villa, illuminating frescoed walls and mosaic floors. The city is beginning to stir, the clatter of carts on cobblestone streets, the low hum of merchants arranging their goods, and the distant calls of children echoing from narrow alleys. You follow silently as she moves through her private chambers, the gentle swish of her silk tunic brushing against her skin, the faint scent of myrrh lingering in the air. Today you will witness the delicate balance of power and desire that defines her life, a world hidden behind doors the public may never enter. In these private spaces, the mistress is both revered and precarious. She navigates a society obsessed with reputation, where honor and influence are tightly bound to social standing. You notice the subtle ways she asserts control, gestures, glances, and carefully chosen words. In the ancient Roman hierarchy, even those with great influence must often operate from the shadows. Imagine sitting near her, observing the way she interacts with her servants and confidants, knowing that every word carries meaning, and every action could be interpreted in ways both beneficial and dangerous. Consider the historical example of Clodia, a Roman noblewoman famed for her intelligence and scandalous relationships. She wielded her charm and wit not merely for indulgence, but to navigate the treacherous currents of Roman politics. Imagine her in a secluded garden, conversing with a lover who is both confidant and silent advisor. The soft rustle of leaves and the faint trickle of water in a marble fountain frame this clandestine moment. She smiles subtly, aware that her influence can shift alliances and sway decisions, while you, as her observer, absorb every nuance, every calculated movement, every quiet pause. The life of a Roman mistress was fraught with tension. Letters must be hidden beneath cushions, messages whispered in corridors, and interactions carefully orchestrated to avoid gossip and scandal. You watch as she pens a note with deliberate precision, the quill moving gracefully across the parchment. Each phrase, each carefully chosen word, could alter relationships, advance ambitions, or even protect lives. The art of secrecy was as essential as the art of seduction, and you feel the quiet thrill of participating in this hidden, intricate dance. Imagine her private chambers, dimly lit by oil lamps, the walls adorned with images of gods, heroes, and ancestors. Here, she is free to express her intellect, desires, and strategies, away from the judgmental eyes of the public. You notice her gestures, the delicate lifting of a hand, the slight tilt of her head as she directs servants, receives visitors, or confides in you. Each movement is deliberate, a part of the invisible web she weaves to maintain authority, protection, and intimacy. History often remembers only the names of men, but in these hidden corners, women like her quietly shape the course of events. Even social gatherings in Rome held hidden dangers. Banquets, receptions, and games offered opportunities for connection, but also risk. Imagine walking behind her at a feast, the sound of laughter, clinking cups, and whispered conversations filling the grand hall. Every glance from a senator, every word from a guest, is a potential threat or an opportunity. You feel the tension in the air, yet also the quiet excitement of being part of a world that blends desire, intellect, and strategy. To be her companion is to exist in a space where danger and intimacy coexist, where one misstep could unravel carefully guarded secrets. Consider the famous scandal involving Fulvia, the wife and confidant of Mark Antony. She exerted significant influence, often steering political and military decisions through her connections, charm, and intellect. Imagine being present in her private quarters, feeling the weight of her presence and realizing the extraordinary role a mistress could play in shaping history. Each whispered suggestion, each private conversation, could ripple through the halls of power, altering alliances and fortunes. You, as her companion, are both witness and participant, acutely aware of the delicate balance required to survive and thrive in this world. Even in moments of quiet intimacy, the threat of exposure looms. Imagine walking through the villa gardens at dusk, the cool marble paths beneath your feet, the scent of jasmine and roses filling the air. Every gesture, every glance, every whispered word carries meaning. History preserves only fragments of these encounters, yet for you, they are vivid, alive, and suffused with tension, beauty, and quiet power. The mistress life is a blend of seduction, strategy, and secrecy, where private moments are imbued with historical significance. As night falls, candlelight flickers across the frescoed walls and mosaic floors. You find yourself in her private chamber once more, observing her in solitude. The soft rustle of her gown, the gentle glow of lamps, and the faint scent of perfumed oils create an intimate atmosphere. You feel the quiet thrill of being part of her hidden world, the intricate dance of desire, trust, and political influence. To be a mistress in ancient Rome is to live at the intersection of intimacy and danger, secrecy and power, love and survival. And now, as you settle into a quiet corner of the villa, imagine the calm intimacy of these private hours. Every glance, every whisper, every carefully measured gesture is a thread in the delicate fabric of history. You carry with you the subtle power of these moments, the hidden influence, and the quiet thrill of participating in a world largely unseen. As sleep begins to beckon, let the sights, sounds, and scents of this secretive Roman life linger in your mind, drawing you into dreams filled with whispered confidences, hidden alliances, and the intricate, captivating rhythm of history lived in shadows. Imagine it is a warm evening in the heart of Rome, and the villa is alive with muted activity. Torches flicker along the marble corridors, casting shadows that dance across frescoed walls, while outside, the city hums softly with distant voices and the gentle clatter of carts. Tonight, you are about to witness an incident that history remembers only in fragments, but one that illustrates the precarious, dangerous, and sometimes devastating life of a Roman mistress. Imagine following her into the private atrium, the soft rustle of her silk tunic brushing against your legs, as she receives an unexpected visitor whose arrival could change everything. Consider the case of Cleopatra Selene, sister of the infamous Cleopatra VII, whose relationships were intricately tied to Roman politics. Imagine being present as a Roman senator approaches her with a letter of urgent importance, one that could disrupt carefully maintained alliances. You feel the tension in the air, the delicate weight of secrecy pressing on your chest. Mistresses in Rome were often intermediaries, influencing political decisions through personal relationships while walking a thin line between loyalty, desire, and danger. Every word spoken in this chamber has consequences far beyond these walls. Picture the scene, the flickering torchlight reflecting on the polished marble floors, highlighting the mosaics depicting mythological victories and gods of strategy and war. She takes the letter carefully, scanning its contents with a serene expression that conceals the storm of emotion beneath. You notice the subtle tightening of her fingers, the slight narrowing of her eyes' small gestures, yet they reveal everything to someone who knows her world intimately. This is the life of a mistress. Every glance, every movement, and every carefully chosen word carries enormous weight. Now imagine the secret meeting in her private garden, the fragrance of night-blooming flowers enveloping you both. She steps lightly along the gravel paths, the scent of jasmine and roses mingling with the earthy aroma of the freshly watered plants. She speaks softly to her companion, revealing plans that could shift alliances or sway votes in the Senate. Yet she does so with careful discretion. History tells us little of these moments, but for you, the scene is alive. The murmur of fountains, the gentle rustle of leaves, the careful cadence of her voice. Every detail is a piece of the hidden world of Roman power, where intimacy and influence intertwine. The scandal unfolds quietly but inevitably. A letter misplaced, a glance misinterpreted, or a whispered word overheard can destroy reputations and destabilize power. Imagine her careful navigation of this treacherous moment. She signals subtly to her confidant your role to ensure that the information does not leak. You feel the sharp tension of the risk, yet also the quiet satisfaction of participating in a complex, secretive game where every move is deliberate. In Rome, a mistress was not merely a figure of desire. She was a strategist, a negotiator, and sometimes the silent architect of events that shaped empires. Consider the historical account of Fulvia, who influenced the political and military campaigns of Mark Antony. You can almost hear the whispers circulating among senators and courtiers. The soft murmur of speculation, the tension of those who sense her influence but cannot challenge it openly. You feel the thrill of proximity to this hidden power, the understanding that every interaction, every touch, every whispered suggestion could ripple outward with consequences that might affect kingdoms, alliances, and legacies. Now, imagine walking through the villa's candlelit corridors after the meeting, the flicker of lamps casting elongated shadows against the frescoed walls. You notice the delicate jewelry adorning her wrists, the faint scent of olive oil and perfumes that mark her status, and the quiet confidence in the sway of her movements. This is a mistress world. Beauty, influence, and peril are interwoven in every gesture. You sense the constant vigilance required, the intricate social choreography that ensures survival, and the private moments of connection that give her life depth and meaning. Even the simplest daily activities are imbued with tension. A shared meal, a casual conversation with servants, or a stroll through the private gardens becomes a stage for negotiation, subtle signaling, and strategic communication. You feel the importance of discretion, the awareness of invisible eyes, and the weight of unspoken rules that govern every interaction. History often records only the public triumphs and scandals, but for those living behind closed doors, the private, strategic life of a mistress is equally vital and fascinating. As the night deepens, imagine her retiring to a small, dimly lit chamber, where the flicker of a single oil lamp illuminates her features, softened yet resolute. You remain nearby, a silent companion and witness, aware that her life is defined by secrecy, influence, and the quiet courage it takes to survive in a world dominated by men. The scandal of the day may pass, yet the lessons, strategies, and whispered confidences linger. Being a mistress in Rome is to navigate this delicate balance every day, blending intimacy, power, and survival into a life rarely acknowledged by history, but profoundly impactful. And now, as you settle into a quiet corner, imagine the soft murmurs of the city fading into the distance, the gentle rustle of silk in her chambers, and the subtle scent of night-blooming flowers lingering in the air. The hidden world of Roman mistresses, a life of strategy, passion, and peril flows quietly around you. History preserves only fragments, but for you, the intimate details are vivid, alive, and endlessly fascinating. Drift gently into sleep, carried by the whispers of a world lived in shadows, secrets, and subtle influence. The first light of dawn filters through the tall windows of the villa, casting long, soft beams across frescoed walls and marble floors. Imagine the gentle warmth brushing your skin as you walk silently behind her, the faint scent of incense and perfumed oils lingering in the cool morning air. Today, you witness not the excitement of clandestine meetings, but the quiet toll that life as a mistress in Rome exacts: emotional, social, and sometimes dangerous. Being a mistress is not only about influence and desire. It is a life threaded with anxiety, isolation, and the constant balancing of personal feelings with political realities. Picture her sitting in her private chamber, a cup of warm wine in her hand, her eyes distant yet alert. She reflects on the events of recent days, the whispered rumors among senators, the veiled threats from rivals, the letters carefully hidden that could shift power in unexpected ways. History shows us the names of men and the outcomes of battles and legislation, but rarely the inner lives of the women who influence them. You sense the weight of her world, the subtle burden she carries as she navigates desire, loyalty, and the scrutiny of society. Consider the case of Servilia Scipianus, mistress to Julius Caesar, whose influence and intelligence allowed her to shape events from behind the scenes. Imagine yourself present as she receives a secret note, the fine parchment soft between her fingers, the careful penmanship hinting at the intentions of powerful men. Every gesture, every pause, every careful word reveals the fragility and complexity of her position. She smiles faintly, concealing the anxiety beneath, knowing that any slip could cost her reputation, influence, or even safety. You feel the tension, but also the quiet strength that sustains her. Now, imagine walking with her through a private garden at mid-morning. The air is warm and fragrant, with the scent of roses, myrtle, and freshly watered greenery. Sunlight filters through carefully pruned hedges, illuminating the intricate mosaics on the garden paths. She speaks softly, reflecting on her life, the delicate negotiations she must maintain, and the personal sacrifices hidden behind her public composure. You sense the mix of longing, determination, and fear that defines her every interaction, a testament to the resilience required to thrive in a world dominated by men. Even seemingly trivial moments carry weight. A glance shared at a banquet, a word whispered to a servant, a gesture in the presence of a guestor can have far-reaching consequences. The mistress life is an intricate tapestry of influence and vulnerability, where love, strategy, and survival intersect. You feel the intensity of this hidden life, the constant vigilance, and the delicate balance between personal desire and societal expectation. Every detail, from the shimmer of her gown to the glint of a jewel, speaks of both privilege and peril. Consider the tragic story of Cleopatra VII's relationships with powerful Roman leaders. Beyond romance, these liaisons carried immense political and personal risk. Imagine being her confidant, observing the careful measures taken to protect reputations, forge alliances, and navigate the ever-shifting currents of court intrigue. You see how intimacy becomes strategy, and affection can turn into a calculated tool. To be close to her is to witness the intersection of private longing and public consequence, a delicate balance few could endure. Picture the villa at dusk, oil lamps casting a warm, flickering glow across the polished floors. She sits quietly, reviewing letters, adjusting her jewelry, and preparing for the evening's gathering of influential guests. You feel the subtle anxiety that accompanies her outward composure, the knowledge that gossip, rivalry, or misstep could alter the course of her life or those she cares for. History often remembers only victories, titles, or scandals, but the quiet moments, the careful choices, and the emotional endurance remained largely unseen. Imagine now the soft intimacy of a private conversation. She leans toward you, her voice barely above a whisper, revealing fears, regrets, and hopes for the future. You sense the loneliness inherent in her position, the isolation of power, the solitude of influence, the quiet longing for trust and understanding. Being a mistress in Rome is a life lived between extremes, indulgence and caution, love and calculation, pleasure and vulnerability. Every interaction is measured, every trust carefully weighed, every feeling delicately balanced. As night falls, the villa is bathed in shadow and candlelight. You accompany her to a quiet chamber where the faint aroma of roses and incense envelops the room. The flickering lamps highlight the contours of her face, the elegance of her gown, and the subtle tension in her posture. You understand that this life, for all its beauty and influence, carries the weight of constant vigilance, strategic thought, and emotional resilience. Every choice she makes echoes beyond the walls, shaping the course of events and leaving an indelible mark on history. And now, as you settle into a shadowed corner, the flicker of candles, the gentle rustle of silk, and the distant murmur of the city create a soothing rhythm. Imagine the hidden power, the quiet courage, and the profound complexity of a mistress life in ancient Rome. These are the whispers of history unseen, often unrecorded, yet deeply significant. Let the gentle rhythm of her world, filled with beauty, danger, and subtle intrigue, guide you into a calm, restful sleep, carrying the delicate pulse of history into your dreams. The night in Rome has deepened, and the city outside the villa is cloaked in quiet shadows. The distant murmur of the Tiber, the faint clatter of a cart returning from the forum, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the gardens create a serene backdrop. Imagine walking softly through the marble corridors behind her, the flicker of oil lamps casting dancing shadows on the frescoed walls. Tonight you witness not only the events of her life, but the legacy and subtle power of a mistress in ancient Roman life, lived in secrecy, influence, and quiet courage. Picture her in the private atrium, seated gracefully on a cushioned bench, the soft glow of lamps illuminating the intricate embroidery of her gown. She reflects on her relationships, the delicate balance of trust and discretion, and the choices that have shaped her path. History often records only the triumphs and scandals of men, yet the hidden influence of women like her shaped alliances, determined fates, and even altered the course of empires. You feel the weight of being her companion, the honor and responsibility of witnessing the intimate, unseen threads of history woven into each quiet moment. Consider the final lessons of her life: resilience, intelligence, and careful strategy. Every letter penned, every whispered word, every gesture of intimacy or caution has left its imprint on history. Imagine standing in the candlelit chambers as she confides in you, revealing the fears she has concealed from the world and the quiet triumphs that never made it into official records. The life of a mistress in Rome is a delicate interplay of affection, secrecy, and subtle power, where every action carries consequence and every trust is precious. Now, envision walking with her through the villa's garden one last time, the soft fragrance of roses, myrtle, and orange blossoms mingling with the cool night air. The fountains trickle gently, echoing the rhythm of life that moves silently alongside history. She speaks softly of the events she has navigated, the scandals she has avoided, and the strategies that have preserved her influence. You sense both the weight of her position and the quiet satisfaction of her resilience, a testament to the intelligence, courage, and grace required to thrive in a world dominated by men. Even as the night deepens, small gestures retain significance. A glance exchanged, a note tucked into a book, a whisper carried on the breezle are part of the delicate fabric of history that she inhabits. You notice the subtle beauty of her composure, the elegance with which she carries power, and the intimate strength that sustains her. This is a life rarely recorded in full, yet vividly alive in your imagination. Moments of trust, strategy, longing, and resilience, all interwoven with the larger currents of Roman society. As she retires to her private chamber, the soft glow of lamps illuminates her serene expression. Imagine the quiet rustle of her silk gown, the faint scent of perfumes lingering in the air, and the gentle rhythm of her breathing as she settles into repose. You, her companion and witness, understand the delicate balance she maintains between desire and discretion, influence and invisibility, affection and strategy. History remembers fragments, but you have experienced the full depth of her life. From whispered confidences to calculated maneuvers, each moment infused with meaning. Picture the villa from above, the flickering lamps, the shadowed gardens, the quiet city beyond. In these private spaces, the life of a mistress unfolds in all its complexity, intimate, strategic, perilous, and profoundly human. You have walked through halls of power, witnessed clandestine meetings, and felt the pulse of history in quiet, private moments. Every gesture, every glance, and every whispered word carries significance, threading you into the tapestry of a world rarely seen, yet endlessly fascinating. And now, as you settle comfortably into your own space, imagine the gentle rhythm of this hidden world's soft candlelight, delicate perfumed air, quiet conversation, and the serene beauty of a life lived at the intersection of intimacy and influence. Let the whispers of Roman history, the subtle power of women who shaped empires in secrecy, and the calm, meditative beauty of these moments lull you into sleep. Drift into dreams infused with the elegance, intrigue, and quiet courage of a mistress in ancient Rome, carrying the enduring whispers of history gently into your mind. As your eyes close, remember this: the lives of these women, their secrets, triumphs, and strategies, persist quietly through time. You have glimpsed a world of beauty and danger, of influence and intimacy, and in doing so, become part of the rhythm of history itself. Sleep now, accompanied by the soft, unbroken cadence of a world lived in shadows, secrets, and subtle power.